Lawn Solutions Australia is bringing the world's leading turf varieties to both your local golf course and home lawn. With superior turf varieties like Tiff Tough Hybrid Bermuda, Sir Grange Zoysia and the newly launched Zoysia Australis, available exclusively through Lawn Solutions Australia, we have the perfect lawn for you. For more information or to find your local accredited supplier, visit lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au. That's lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au. Hello and welcome to episode 129 of The Thing About Golf, the podcast from Golf Australia magazine, trying to decipher why so many get so hooked on this game. Rod Morrie's my name, and it's a real treat to introduce this episode because I think it was a bit of a special one for our host, John Huggan. Like so many of us, Huggy was and is a shameless admirer of Seve Ballesteros, and the opportunity to sit down with the great man's son, Javier, to talk all things life and golf must have been a joy. From Seve as father and golf coach to his ongoing legacy and how the family works to protect his name and image, this is a captivating discussion on what it's like to grow up in the footsteps of one of the most beloved golfers of all time. I hope you enjoy the chat as much as Huggy clearly did, because I know I did.
Okay, welcome to the latest edition of the Thing About Golf podcast. My guest this time, unusually for me, is someone I've never met, but Javier Ballesteros. What was and is the thing about golf for you?
Hello, it's very nice to be speaking with you. Well, golf has always been at home since I was very young, and I really fell in love with it through my dad, obviously.
How was that? I mean, how to have somebody like your father, presumably showing you how to do it? I mean, that's a big leg up, a big advantage, one would think. But that brings pressure with it as well. I mean, how did you cope with that at an early age?
Well, I usually think that I had an advantage, no? And I never tried to be my dad when I was playing golf, not because I didn't want to be like him. Obviously, I think any golfer would probably...
The world wanted to be like him. The world, believe me.
Yeah, but I never felt the pressure for being the son of Seve. I mean, I tried to do my career. I work hard as he taught me, and that's basically it. I never felt that pressure. I think it was an advantage in many situations. I had some invites to play on the European tour or those kind of things. No? So yeah, I always took it like an advantage.
Yeah. Was he a good teacher?
Yeah, he definitely was a very good teacher. I mean, he obviously could tell me about all his experiences. He was a good teacher, on the driving range. Obviously, with the short game, he had that magic, and he could transmit that magic. And definitely he was great. And we always spent great times on the golf course, if it was on the driving range or on the golf course.
What was the best advice he gave you, technical advice? Because I ask that because not all great players are great teachers. They know how to do it. They understand their own games, but they have trouble transmitting it to others.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you in this. I think it's very, very different to be a great player than a great teacher. Many times, great players, when they are teaching or trying to teach, they transmit you what they do, and what they do, it works for them, no? So there's definitely a big difference. And I remember my dad always told me a good advice. It was good for him, maybe not so good for me. Like, he always tried to play as naturally as possible. No, I think he had that natural game on him, and that's not possible for everybody.
No, I mean, I was lucky enough to be his ghost writer on some of instruction stories he did for Golf Digest magazine back in the day. I remember I think we were in Florida. We were going to do a short game piece with him, and while the photographer was kind of setting up, your dad was just sort of aimlessly hitting little chip shots, maybe 10, 12-yard shots, and he would make it skip, and the ball would stop, and then the ball would come back 6 inches, which is almost impossible to do on a shot that length, as you know. And I just watched and I said, how do you do that? And all he did was he smiled at me and did it again, and then again and again. So he wasn't for giving away all of his secrets.
Yeah, I think especially in the short game, sometimes it's difficult to explain how he did it, no, or any player does those kind of things, because I think that golf is many times about feelings, and I think obviously short game has his technique to do the different kind of shots, but I truly believe that many times the shot on the short game, you have it on your head and on your feelings, and you just do it, and many times you can't really explain it.
Mm-hmm. We'll get back to your dad, obviously. I'm interested in how your golf career progressed. I mean, how good did you get? And I know you've played a bit of pro golf. Tell the people listening to this just how far you've come as a golfer yourself.
It didn't go very far, at least not as far as I wanted. No, I was pro golfer for 8 years. I actually stopped playing nearly 2 years ago. I was lucky enough to get a job quickly after stop playing, because a guy from Madrid had a management company, and I started the golf area with him, and I'm now managing a few Spanish golfers, and I'm actually very happy because I obviously wanted to succeed in golf as a professional, but I really like the game, and to actually be able to still work in the golf industry. I'm really, really happy. And about my career, yeah, I played for 8 years. I mainly played on Alps Tour, a few Challenge Tour events, and a few European Tour events with invites. Yeah, it was a very happy part of my life. No, I mean, since I was very young, I always kept telling my dad that I wanted to be professional. He was happy about that. He always told me that it was very difficult, so I knew it since I was very young. And the best advice he gave me, it might sound a little bit typically, but to work hard. I mean, I think if one thing my dad did throughout his career was work very hard. No, I always keep telling the same story. When I was about 10 years old, so that's like 2000. I remember going to the gym with my dad before going to school, like at let's say 6:30 in the morning. It was I went there to just enjoy myself with my dad. But when the years went on, I look back and said, oh well, my dad was number one in the world. He won so many times, majors, Ryder Cups. He wasn't playing good at all in the 2000s, and he was still working and working. So when somebody says you that work hard is important, and you see it on that person, it really sinks up, you say in English. So yeah, that was the best advice he gave me, and I think it's the best advice you can give anybody. I mean, if you don't work hard, it's very difficult to succeed in life. It doesn't matter if it's golf or other different thing.
Yeah, I mean, your dad was maybe he was labelled certainly as the most natural of players. I mean, it was just he had the God-given talent, but I have to think there was an awful lot of work went on behind the scenes. I mean, I saw some of the work he did when I was around him, and he never stopped practicing hard. I mean, it doesn't just come naturally, even to someone with as gifted as he was.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you could measure talent, my dad probably had, I don't know if 10 out of 10, but a lot. But if you could also measure his work, it will probably be 10 out of 10 also. I mean, he always kept telling me that throughout his career, and even though after 95, when he won last time on European Tour and he started to play pretty bad, he kept working. I mean, he obviously loved the game. he was used to work hard, and he did that throughout his career.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, with your name, in the career you chose early in your life, you were going to get quite a lot of attention. How did you deal with that? Was it hard to cope with sometimes?
Well, I did get some attention, but actually not that much. And I'm happy in a way and not happy in another way, because I didn't get more attention because I didn't play good golf. But no, I just got some attention. I was happy with it. It was always nice to speak to people when they came up and say, your dad was my idol, or I met your dad, or your dad did this or did that. I always was very, very happy and grateful to each person that came to me and said something good about my dad. I mean, yeah, definitely that. And as said, I didn't get more attention because I didn't make enough birdies.
Yeah. Well, allow me to join the club in that respect. I've been lucky enough in my job I've interviewed pretty much, nearly every top golfer of the last, 40 years or so. And I've not been intimidated too often. But I went to Pedreña to interview your father for Golf Digest, a long question and answer session. And there's a big room at the club. Oh, that would be mid-90s, something like that. Some in that area, anyway. And we were in that, there's a big room in the clubhouse at Pedreña, just big kind of ballroom type. It looks out onto the first tee. So we're sitting in the corner there. There's nobody else there. It's completely empty. And I'm asking him a question. And I kind of glanced down at my notes to see, what my next question is going to be while he's talking. And I look up and he's just kind of looking at me, with those eyes. And I kind of gulped and went, oh my goodness, it's Seve. It was because he was my hero sort of thing. But I didn't react like that very often. But he managed to do it to me. He kind of put me on the back foot, which was a good thing in an interview for somebody like him. So it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I see him as my dad, but I can say he was slightly different than other golfers. I can't really explain it properly, maybe, but yeah, I've watched thousands of his videos in YouTube or in other places, and I don't know if it was the way he swung the club, the way he walked the courses. I think there was something different the way he walked the courses. I keep watching videos of him, and there's something different that you probably can't explain, but it was definitely different, no? And yeah, there's many people that have told me that maybe there were some people in a room, and when my dad stepped in, like people were all like surprised or like kind of saw something different on him, no? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other time, the first time I went to Pedreña it would be late April 1988, before you were even born, to do the instruction stories for Golf Digest. He just signed with the magazine. So we were there. I was there with a photographer for 3 or 4 days. And we finished. We did all the stuff that we were doing. And the morning that the photographer and I we were leaving in the afternoon. And so we were going to play the course in the morning. And your dad was going to join us, which was pressure enough. But it was blowing an absolute gale. So he said, no, too windy. I'm just going to go and practice. So this photographer and I played round. And you'll know there's the par 3 near the end. Is it 16 where there's a big bank round the green, but it's sheltered? 15. Okay. Yeah. So we get on the tee there. We arrive on the tee and we look up and there's your dad. He's been practicing, out of the wind, just chipping and putting. And he steps back to let us play. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, please let me hit the green, because the last thing I wanted was to have Seve watching me chip. So my chipping was never the best. And thank God I hit the green. So I've never been so relieved. So. Of course, he was laughing at that, of course. He knew. So. Anyway, Javi, tell us more about your game. I mean, what if you could describe your own game, how would you do that?
Well, I actually was a pretty bad driver. Maybe.
Sounds familiar.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, familiar. My dad always kept on telling me that he was probably not the best driver in the world, but he didn't go. How you say it? I mean, he hit more fairways than people think. That's for sure. He kept telling me that. But yeah, I had pretty big issues with my driver. I was actually quite good player with mid and short irons. My short game was good, not as good as my dad, but it was, I would say, very good. And probably the best part of my game was putting. No, but I believe in these days and even in the past that if you can't drive the ball properly, it's very difficult to play this game. I mean, if you can drive the ball from the tee properly, then you can play this game. If you can't, that's a pretty big deal. No? That's basically why I stopped. I kept working very hard, and now that I look back, I'm happy with how I handled my career as I worked hard and did the things I had to do. And it just wasn't meant to be. And I'm happy with this next chapter in my life. Obviously, I think every person that loves golf as much as I do, his dream is to be a pro golfer and play on European tour. That was my dream, and that's why I work very hard and I woke up early every morning. And I said, it just wasn't meant to be, and I'm very happy with the next chapter, and I'm still in the world of golf. As I told you, I'm now managing a few golf players, and it's kind of I couldn't complete my dream of being a European Tour golfer, but I can kind of live that dream through my players. So yeah, I'm actually very happy on where my life is going and grateful for it.
Yeah, it's nice to look back, and it sounds like you to know that you gave it everything you had. There's no regrets on that front.
Yeah, definitely. I've got zero regrets. I stopped playing, as I told you, nearly 2 years ago, and I tried to look back, and yeah, obviously you can probably do this or that a little bit better, but the big things, or if you want to call them, I did them. I worked hard, and yeah, I just wasn't good enough, or it wasn't meant to be. I mean, I knew it was difficult, and I've got no problems and no regrets with it.
Who are the players that you're working with these days?
Well, for the moment, I've got Spanish players. I've got 8 Spanish players. I have 2 on European Tour, which are Ángel Hidalgo and Santiago Tarrio. Then I have 4 on Challenge Tour, which are Lucas Vacarisas, Borja Virto, Victor Pastor, and Ángel Ayora. Then I've got an amateur player who's called Pablo Alperi, and I've got a disabled golfer who's called Juan Postigo. Is the guy that plays with one leg.
I've seen him. He's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could be something good in your podcast. He speaks very well. He's got a super strong story to tell, and he's a great guy.
We'll take you up on that. We'll talk afterwards on that. Yeah. So, and before we leave your father's driving, Mike Clayton, who played the European Tour and was a great friend and fan of your father's, he always disputed the fact, like you just did, that Seve was not a great driver. But he said maybe he wasn't a great driver, he said, but he was the hitter of great drives, which I think is the best way to put it. His best drives were wonderful. You know, he could hit drives that no one else could hit. That's what he meant by that. You know.
Yeah, as I told you, my dad always kept on telling me that he was a better driver of the ball than people thought. No, it was obviously the car park shot on 79 in Lidam on the 16th. That was a good story, but yeah, he kept on driving the ball better than people thought. He actually drove the ball very far, which I think it's always important, and from there he could do a good career. Yeah.
That car park story always makes me kind of shake my head. I mean, I've played that hole many times, and it's not a car park over there, and it's a perfectly legitimate place to hit it. I mean, the shot he had in was quite simple, straightforward. I mean, there's no problem with hitting it there on that hole. So.
Yeah, I've played Lidam twice. I can't actually remember the exact place he sent the ball on 16. I mean, how far right that was, no? But yeah, obviously the images of my dad picking up the ball from down the car and dropping from behind the back, they probably made like a good story, no? But as you're telling, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but that drive maybe went like 30, 40 yards to the right, which obviously it's quite a lot, but it's not. It happens at sometimes, no? So yeah, I think it's more like about the story, and then he obviously won that Open.
He obviously shared a few stories with you. You were born, after he won all his majors, certainly. What were your favourite stories to hear from your father?
Can't remember much right now. Let me think about it, and we come back with that question.
Yeah. Okay. Did he talk much about winning the majors or going to Augusta, that kind of thing? I'm sure he did.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, when you play golf, the biggest achievement you can make is to win majors. No, he's very happy when he won in '84 in St Andrews. I mean, obviously, all of the 3 Opens and 2 Masters were special to him, but to win the home of golf was really different. No, that I think that celebration, you can see it on that celebration. He felt at home when he played the Open. I think since maybe not the first time when he played in Canuste in '75, but on '76 when he played in Birkdale, there was a special connection between British people and my dad. No, I've been lucky enough to play some links golf, obviously not at the level of my dad and with those huge crowds, but I think it's by far the best golf in the world. I mean, links plus British crowds, that's doesn't get better than that. I mean, Augusta is a special place. I was there this year, and like everything is perfect, the place, all that stuff, but I have to say that I wouldn't change an Open Championship for the Masters. I mean, yeah, I've been in a few Open Championships. I was lucky enough to caddy for my dad at the '06 Open in Hoylake, and links golf, and particularly the Open, it's just different golf and the best golf by far for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in danger of sounding like a complete fanboy during this podcast, and I don't really care because that's what I was with your father. But I was actually there when he holed that putt at St Andrews. I was in the grandstand just to the right of the first tee, and my memory of that is that he holds the putt and he starts to react, and every single person in the stand stood up, almost without exception. Everybody stood up. It was an amazing moment to be part of.
It had to be fantastic. No, I wish I could have been there. I wasn't even born. That was '84. I was born in 1990. Yeah. No, but I wish I could go back there and see that live. That it has to be something great, no? To win the Open at the home of golf with all those crowds, making a birdie on the last that it almost didn't go in the hole, and yeah, that moment has to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and Birkdale as well. I wasn't at Birkdale in '76, but I look back on that now. The film that they made of your father's life 2 or 3 years ago now, there's my voice is on there. As part of those interviews I talked about with Golf Digest, when we talked to him about the night before the final round at Birkdale, there's me saying to him, "You had a kid."
When he says he went to the disco with his brother Manuel, and the policeman was coming for him. Okay.
Yeah. I'm the one asking him the question and saying, "Well, you mean your caddy knew nothing about golf? You stayed out late. You didn't speak English, and you thought you were going to win. That was me.
Those are the exact words. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, he was convinced he was going to win. He just looked at me as if I was mad. Yeah, of course, thought I was going to win. At 19.
I think since that year in Birkdale, there was something special between my dad and British crowds. No, he came from nowhere, and yeah, as you said, he had a policeman on the back who knew nothing about golf. He was hitting the drivers all over the place and making pars and birdies. There was Johnny Miller, who was the #1 in the world, and he was leading over him after 3 rounds. He couldn't make it finally, but he was tied second with Nicklaus with that chip shot between the bunkers on 18. And as I said, it's probably bad I said because it's my dad, but he definitely walked the courses different. I mean, I can't explain, but it was just different. I'm not saying it was better or worse, but it was just different. I think that that's what people liked.
Well, that people ask me about it as well because they knew I knew him a little bit, and I always say that the key to it was that if you said to somebody, "How would you like to play golf?" Ideally, in a perfect world, and just about everybody would say they would want to play like your dad.
Well, it was let's say more exciting golf than others probably. That's why people like it, I think, because it was different. I think people usually like different things. And yeah, definitely that was it.
Did he ever talk to you about his the last Ryder Cup he played in at Oak Hill, the match he played against Tom Lehman? Singles match.
I've seen that video a few times, yeah. I think there's a video of Montgomery speaking about it, no? That my dad wasn't playing good at all. They didn't want to put him in a position that he could lose his match and Europe lose the Ryder Cup. So he went out first. And I've seen that video. Who's the guy that's commentating?
Paul Isinger was on the commentary, I think.
Paul Isinger, exactly. Paul Isinger. And it was pretty amazing. I mean, he finally lost that match 4-3. Tom Lehman was #1 in the world at that moment. In that video also, Tom Lehman speaks and he says that, I think my dad was like 1 down after 10 holes after hitting the ball everywhere. And Monty says that watching my dad, how he was fighting for that match inspired them, and they did it. They won that Ryder Cup, and it's pretty strong. The moment that my dad and Nick Faldo hug each other and they are both crying. Yeah, that was definitely a good Ryder Cup, and yeah, I've watched that video many times.
Yeah, Bernard Gallagher, who was the captain of that European team, I walked that match with your dad in Lehman, and I've never seen anything like that before or since. But Bernard tells the story of approaching your father, I think on the 10th fairway, and your dad's all smiles. And Bernard says, "Seve, why are you smiling? You're 1 down." To which your father replied, "I should be 9 down." Yeah,
from what I've seen on the video, yeah. I mean, I don't know if 9 down through 10, but at least 6 or 7 down. He was hitting the ball all over the place. Tom Lehman was playing good golf, but yeah, he managed to only be 1 down. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, Tom was playing well. He was #1, and my dad wasn't playing well, and he lost that match. But as Monty said, he inspired the rest of the team, and I think that was very, very important for that Ryder Cup. Yeah.
Do you look back now and wonder if the brain tumor that your father had, the first manifestation of it was the deterioration in his game, that was affecting his balance and maybe his rhythm, and maybe that had effects that we don't really understand or didn't understand at that time? Is that crossed your mind?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously he passed away because of a brain tumor, and when he got that tumor detected, they didn't really knew how many years it had been in his head, no? So yeah, that was probably one of the things, no? Especially because he was he went from playing like very well to very bad very quickly. So yeah, it could be. I mean, I would never be able, or anybody will be able to tell that 100%. But yeah, we believe it had something to do. Yeah, definitely yes.
Want to work less and play more golf? Well, you can. If you're practicing your putting or your drives, Tiff Tough Hybrid Bermuda, exclusively by Lawn Solutions Australia, can bring the golf course experience right to your home. With superior drought tolerance, speedy recovery and toughness, Tiff Tough is the smart grass. For more information, visit lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au. That's lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au.
The Ryder Cup we touched on that a minute ago. It was obviously a big part of his career. He gets a lot of credit for kind of resurrecting the European cause, if you like, because he kind of led the way. He was the first of the group of five, the terrific players, Langer, Wisdom, Faldo, Sandy Lyle, to win in America. And they always give your dad credit for saying, well, we thought we could beat Seve now and again, and if Seve can go to America and win, well, we can too. And then they all did. He was kind of the leader in a way, wasn't he? I mean, he was always the first one to do most things.
Yeah, he was the first to do some things. I think, he was the first European to win the Masters. But yeah, that was those five players are five of the best in the history of Europe. No, definitely. And yeah, I think the five of them played an important part of the Ryder Cup. I think that Europeans felt at the start of their careers a little bit bad in the US because I think the US players thought they were going there to steal their money. So the Ryder Cup was a good stage for them to prove that they were good enough and beat the Americans. Yeah.
Did you not ever talk much about his relationship with America? I always was slightly sad, and I'm sure there was faults on both sides, but I think they missed out, and I think your dad missed out on playing more in America than he could have played more than he did. It was always a bit of a loggerhead situation rather than arms round each shoulders. Did he talk much about that? I mean, I'd be interested to hear what his thoughts were on his relationship with certainly the PGA Tour.
Well, I think the relationship wasn't that bad or even bad at all. I think he I mean, there was probably some reasons, but he didn't play more in America, I believe, because I know because he was too far away from home. I mean, I think my dad really liked to be in Pedreña a lot, and having to travel to America didn't allow him to do that. No, he was happy when he was in Pedreña. That's why he never left there. I always keep saying the same. No, I believe Pedreña is the best place in the world, at least for me.
It's lovely. You're right. Yeah.
And I think it was for him, and that's why one of the reasons he probably didn't play that much in America. I mean, he wanted to play golf, but not that far away from home to be able to spend time with me, my brothers, my mother, and his friends.
Yeah, and I always I kind of back up your dad and the things that the players enjoy now, the modern players, all the things that your dad asked of the PGA Tour are now in place, basically. All the things that he wanted, they now get. And the benefit, I mean, the Europeans who now go over to America and get, treated way better than your dad did back in the day. I mean, a lot of it's down to him, I think.
Yeah. Well, things have changed a lot, no? In this thing, I sometimes miss that European players do a little bit more for European Tour. Obviously, if you're a top player, you want and you have to play in America, not only because the money is there, also because the best players in the world are there. But yeah, I sometimes miss that the big names in European golf do a little bit more for the European Tour. No, now the DP World Tour, but for me, always European Tour. Yeah, I sometimes miss it. Obviously, they have a lot of tournaments to play, days to give to their sponsors. They have to be with their families, all that stuff. But I keep missing that a little bit.
Yeah. How do you think your dad would have reacted to what's going on right now with the Live Golf and the PGA Tour? How do you think where do you think he would have sat in the midst of all that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't really know it. I know that he wanted a world tour back in the day. I don't know how he would react to this. I mean, I think in a way he would be happy because the PGA Tour is not like the only one that has, like, not all the players, how you say it in English, like it hasn't got the monopoly of the golf. But in another way, I mean, the way Leaf it's doing things with teams and all that stuff, I'm not sure. I mean, for sure, he wanted a world tour. That's 100% sure. But I also believe he will like, as many people do, like all the best players to play together. I think that's the big issue for golf right now. I mean, you want to see all the best players in the world play together, and in these days you can only see that on the 4 majors. People like to see it a little bit more often.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before on this podcast, and I bang on about it a little bit. I mean, I don't think that if you look at it from a European Tour perspective, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if these talks that are going on right now just fell apart and the PGA Tour went off and did their PGA Tour thing and basically in America, and something else evolved, the European Tour being part of it, with the Asian Tour, the Australians, the South Africans, Japanese, and there was something else to play in that was everywhere else in the world except America. I think that would have appealed to your father, I would have thought.
Yeah, I agree with this. And I actually believe that the European Tour should have gone with Live. I'm not 100% sure if European Tour had the opportunity. I've been told that they had the opportunity to go with the Saudis, and I would have definitely gone there. I mean, if European Tour had gone with the Saudis, probably the European Tour, or I don't know what the name would be as good as the PGA Tour, no? So you would have the PGA Tour and the European Tour at the same level. And now European Tour has become a second division to PGA Tour, which I think it's very, very bad. Last year was the first time that the best 10 players on European Tour that did not have a PGA Tour card, they could go to PGA Tour, which I think it makes no sense. I mean, if you've got a company and the best 10 employees of your company go to a competitor company, that's no sense. I think the people who are running the European Tour right now should rethink their position and try to do European Tour big again, because as I say, I truly believe, and many people believe, that the European Tour is right now a second division to PGA Tour, which I think it's very, very bad. And I don't know if there's a time or whatever you want to call it to get back in these things, because in my opinion, European Tour should not be the second division to PGA Tour. European Tour should get back to the first division, and I don't know if there's time enough, but I would encourage the people who run the European Tour to try and do that. I mean, PGA Tour in one side and Asian Tour, I don't know how you could call that, also in the first division. That's for sure, and I think European Tour are not going in the right direction right now.
Well, I think that could happen. As I say, if the talks fall apart, there's going to have to be somewhere for the Saudis to go with their money, and I could see the rest of the world thing evolving if that was to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, there could be the PGA Tour, which is very, very good to golf, and another tour called whatever you want. That's rest of the world.
Yeah.
I don't know, Eurasian tour or whatever you want to call it, but like to have like 2 first division circuits and then like the second and third division of those circuits. But as a European, I don't want the European tour to be a second division to the PGA Tour. That's not good for European golf.
No, I think you're right. And the second division label it's one interesting thing has come out of the 10 players thing that you mentioned that they go to play on the PGA Tour is how well most of them have done. So the narrative that there's a huge gap between the standard of play on the PGA Tour and the European Tour, that I'm not so sure that that's true. I mean, how these guys have done really well. They've won the French Pavon won tournaments. And a lot of them have kept their cards and done well. And Robert McIntyre has won twice. So, you start to think, well, hang on a minute. Maybe the American Tour isn't that much better than the European Tour.
Well, I truly believe that PGA Tour is not better than European Tour. Maybe slightly, but not that much. And as you say, those 10 guys that went to PGA Tour, they've done properly. Mathieu Pavon won at Torrey Pines. McIntyre won the Canadian Open and the Scottish Open. I think there was a third guy that also won a tournament, but I can't remember his name now.
And Valimaki was runner-up somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
Valimaki was runner-up, exactly. And I think that there was another player that won a tournament, but I can't remember his name. I mean, obviously, let's be fair and say that there's a little gap, but it's much, much smaller than people think. I mean, the good European Tour players can play in America as good as the Americans. I mean, even sometimes in the PGA Tour, golf courses are a little bit more difficult than in Europe, but they are week over week. They are like in the same conditions. And when you play in European Tour, you play very, very different conditions. I mean, last week I was in France with some of my players at the Omega European Masters. And you're playing in the mountains, one day with sun, another one with wind, another one with rain, a mountain course. This week you're playing Royal County Down, which is links course, like very different situations, which make players be better. I mean, if you always keep on playing pretty similar golf courses, it's easier because you get used to it, no? I mean, I don't know what the speed was last week in Crans, but I'm pretty sure it would be different in Royal County Down this week. So yeah, definitely the gap is not as big as people think, and players in Europe can play really, really well. And I mean, you only have to see it on the Ryder Cup, and I think in the last 11 Ryder Cups, Europe has won 7 and USA 4, something like that, I think it is. So yeah, European golf it's at a very good stage. There's very young European players playing really well, and the gap is definitely smaller than people think.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly true that there's, far more variety of questions asked of the players on the European Tour than there is in America. I mean, it's basically an awful lot of the weeks they're asked the same questions. The golf courses the greens are the same speed, the fairways are the same width, the rough's the same height. It's too much the same for me. And I know your father. I know this to be true because I spoke to him about it. He always rebelled against the equipment, the evolution of equipment, and that it made certainly the driver made it easier. The 60-degree wedge. In fact, the reason I know this is because I wrote a column bemoaning the fact that the game at the top level was becoming easier. The gap between the top driver and the top short game player and the average guy was becoming smaller because of the equipment. And obviously that struck a chord with your dad because he came to me. I was going on about how 60-degree wedges should be banned. And he came to me and he pointed in my face and he goes, yes, you're right. Because he knew that with a 56-degree wedge, there was things that he could do that nobody else could do. And he was losing his edge because of the 60-degree wedge.
Yeah, I mean, in these days, I think the Royal and Ancient and the Huggan are very focused on that the problem in golf it's the ball, and I think the ball is not the problem. The ball is going further than ever. Obviously, the technology in the ball has evolved, but I think it's going further than ever for two reasons. Golfers are stronger than they used to be, and also because of the driver. The driver is too big. I mean, I think in these days you can hit the driver in the sweet spot or on the heel or in the toe, and it basically goes the same spot. A few months ago, I was trying a driver for my dad at home in Pedreña, King Cobra. It was already a metal wood. Can't remember the year, but it's probably from the 2000s, around that. I think the head it's a little bit bigger than a 3-wood in these days. Kind of of the mini drivers they are doing now. Maybe a little bit smaller than the mini drivers in these days. And I mean, if you don't hit that on the sweet spot, the ball starts to go left, right, everywhere. I think that's where golf should go. I mean, you have to do the sweet spot smaller. I mean, I'm good with the technology of the ball. I'm good with the technology in the face of the drivers or 3-woods, but you have to do the sweet spot and the drivers smaller. That's key. You have to give the good players that they hit the sweet spot an advantage. I mean, now you hit it anywhere and the ball goes straight. And also about the 60-degree wedges, maybe making the highest loft, I don't know, 56 or 58, I don't know. Yeah, that could be another option. But yeah, definitely equipment is making like all the players play more similar. So if you have like different skills, those clubs don't don't give you an advantage. So yeah, I would definitely just do that. I mean, I don't know about the 56 degrees on the wedges. That's something to think about it. But definitely you have to do the sweet spot and drivers smaller. I mean,
you need to get behind the 60-degree wedge thing, because I know for a fact that he was not happy with the 60-degree wedge, which is fair enough.
I have a 60-degree wedge on my bag.
Yeah. Anyway, before we finish here, I wanted to talk to you about ask you about the caddying for your father in his last Open at Hoylake. I walked 9 holes of that and watched him play. I must admit, I found it quite hard because he wasn't playing well, and it was difficult to watch, having watched him at his peak. But Jeff Ogilvy, the former US Open champion, always tells the story about he played the European Tour at the end of the 1990s for 2 or 3 years before he went to America, and played with your father 2 or 3 times when your dad was in decline. But Jeff said it was always a thrill to play with Seve, because no matter how bad Seve played, he would hit 2 or 3 shots that you would just go, wow, I couldn't do that. And even at the end, he never lost that. But talk to me a little bit about caddying at Hoylake and what that was like for you.
Yeah, I agree with you and with Jeff Ogilvy. You could always see some special shots if you followed my dad, no? That week was special. For sure it was, or it is, the best week of my life on a golf course. No, to be able to caddy for my dad on his last Open was pretty special. He was not going to play that Open, but I went to him, I can't remember how much time before the Open, and told him, I mean, I know you're not practicing anymore. I know you're not going to play the Open, but you are allowed to play because you've won it 3 times, and I would like to caddy for you. And he said to me, yes, straight away. It was a fantastic week. We played some practice rounds with Sandy Lyle, with Stuart Appleby, with Angel Cabrera, with Andres Romero. It was pretty amazing actually to see Angel Cabrera, Andres Romero. I think the Argentinian players have something special to play this game, especially those 2. And it was very nice to share practice round with them, and we played with Ian Poulter and Sean McKeel on Thursday and Friday, and it was fantastic. No, I mean to be able to feel the British crowds on the first tee, on the 18th green, basically everywhere, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed being around my dad those days. He missed the cut by 4 or 5. He didn't play that bad. I mean, I think he could even made that cut, but yeah, we definitely enjoyed that. And I actually have a good story from the second day on the fourth hole. I think the third hole is a par 4, like a dog leg to the right, and the fourth hole it's a short par 4. I think it's pretty straight par 4. He hit a forward from the tee, a very bad one to the left and pretty short. He had to do a layup to around, let's say, 20 yards from the pin. That week, if you can remember, the grass was completely yellow and very, very firm. No, and I remember he had this chip shot from around 20 yards in a very hard grass. There was this spot bunker and like 4 or 5 yards to the pin. And I can't exactly remember the conversation, but I basically said to my dad, okay, just chip it like 4 or 5 meters past the flag and let's try and make 4. And he kind of looked at me and said, I think he didn't say anything, but he looked at me and said, do you really know who you're speaking to? I stepped away and I remember he did this chip like 1 feet, 1.5 feet past the flag. And I was like, okay, never say anything about chipping to your dad. He's not you and he's not normal in chipping. And it's actually a good story. Yeah. I was telling him, 4 or 5 yards past the hole, and he just chipped it to like 1.5 feet. That was pretty good, and it was an amazing week. I still remember probably every week, and grateful that my dad, because he basically played for me. I mean, he was not practicing, he wasn't going to play, and he gave me the opportunity to have that super experience. No, to be alongside him for those 36 holes was best of the best.
Did you feel the affection from the people, the crowds?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing to feel it. I mean, I always listen to those stories, how much British people like your dad, and how the crowds cheer up for him on the opens, and to be able to feel it inside the ropes was amazing. No, like as I said, the ovations on the first tee or 18th green were amazing, but basically on every hole, and yeah, amazing. He, as I say, and he's probably said on some interviews, he felt at home when he was in UK, and he enjoyed his time a lot over there.
Yeah, you touched on this earlier. You've watched a lot of the YouTube clips of the shots that you set. What are your favourites? I know I've got a couple of favourites. The chip shots at Lytham when he won in '88 on the last hole that lipped out, and the one where he hits the shot on the 5th hole at St Andrews, playing with Lee Trevino, and it was Lee Trevino's reaction. Yeah, buena Seve. Yeah, exactly. That gives you goosebumps. That kind of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. There's a lot of very good videos. Yeah, the one with Lee Trevino, it's a very good one. Obviously, the chip on. Yeah, touch of class, baby. Buena Seve. Yeah, that's a great video. Yeah, obviously the chip on 1988. He always told me that he couldn't believe that chip didn't go in. Yeah, there's many videos. There's a very good video in Wentworth. I think it's in the 15th hole, that when he's just addressed the ball and somebody moves or makes some noise and he gets out and says, I know you're nervous, but I am too. That's a pretty good one. Yeah, there's many good videos. Obviously, the celebration in 1984, that's fantastic. There's another celebration that I really like when he wins the Irish Open in playoff with Bernard Langer. That celebration, I really like it. And in the video, you can see those huge crowds.
He's like a boxer in that one, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's wearing, I think it's green pants,
and the blue sweater that he always wore.
Blue sweater, yeah. I think he definitely enjoyed his time in the golf course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think well, as I say, I'm not even going to care about me sound. Journalists are not supposed to sound like fans, but I put that aside when I'm talking about your father. He was a hero to me, and I'm sure thousands of others. Certainly in this country, certainly in Scotland, he was up there with Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson in that respect. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, as I think I've told you a little bit before in the interview that I'm always very grateful to any people that comes to me in a golf course or through social media and tells a good story about my dad, or he just tells me that my dad was his idol. There's a few people that also come to me and say, okay, my son is called Seve after your dad, which that impresses me a lot. Also through social media, I've had these people that tell me my wife didn't allow me to call my son Seve, but my dog or my cat is called Seve.
Yeah,
not Seve in Spanish.
Seve, yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. We're not very good at the Spanish pronunciations, I'm afraid. So.
Yeah, but no, Seve sounds good. Sounds good. I like it, and as I say, I'm grateful to everybody because they've always been very nice to me. Doesn't matter if it's in the golf course or through social media or in any place, and to feel that from people, that's one of the best feelings in the world.
Can you think of what's some of the nicer tributes that you've had from maybe some of the players that you've talked to?
Well, some stories they share, or maybe when you speak to them, like I think probably the best tributes or the best way is like when you speak to those players or fans. I don't care if they're players, famous people or not famous people. Like when you see them speaking about my dad, they speak with this like happy feeling, or I don't know how to really express this in English. That's the way. That's the best. That's definitely the best. Or I think, some of the fans say that your dad had a great impact in my life, and that's pretty like, wow, he just played golf. How can he have a great impact in your life? No, and that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I was lucky enough to play the downhill in St Andrews, Carnoustie, and Kingsbarns, and I met with a few fans of my dad, and it's sometimes more about how they speak about my dad more than what they say about him, like the joy they speak about him. That makes me feel good, and I say grateful to every golf fan. It doesn't matter if it's a pro and famous golfer or just a 10 handicap from any golf club.
Yeah, I think well, if I'm typical, and I probably am, I mean, every time I think of him, I smile. That's always the first thing I do. And I've watched those YouTube things like you have a million times, and I still go back and watch them. And I think thousands of people do. I think I don't think his legend, if you like, is going to die anytime soon. Put it that way.
That's great. Yeah. Obviously, it's been 11 years since he passed away. I think of him every day, obviously. Many times I think I wish he was here to see me and my brothers grow up. Anyway, I think he looks after us wherever he is. And as I said, obviously the joy of the people when they talk about him makes you feel that he did something more important than winning 5 majors or being a Ryder Cup star or winning 91 times around the world. No, he made a good impact in the world of golf, and that's the best, I think.
Yeah, well, it's I'm sure you've heard this before, that you look like him a lot and you sound like him a lot. That's it's almost spooky listening to your voice. I can hear him in you. So.
Yeah, I always say the same. I look like him, I speak like him, and I don't play golf like him.
Well, nobody else did either. Anyway, Javi, thank you very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, I always enjoy speaking about my dad, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, anytime. Come back soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for episode 29, and as always, big thanks to Huggy and to Javier Ballesteros for taking the time to do it. Now, I hope you've taken the time to follow the podcast on your favourite app, because there's plenty more in store, including our next.
I thought I had a 6-stroke lead with 5 to go. That's when the hyperventilation starts kicking in a little bit.
Yeah.
That's 2002 PGA champion Rich Beem, next time on The Thing About Golf.